Bonjour à tous, c'est Gleu et bienvenue pour Stanley Parable Deluxe. Oui, j'ai déjà joué à Stanley Parable. Déplacez le curseur. J'ai hâte de voir toutes les nouvelles conneries qu'on pourra faire avec le narrateur entre l'heure actuelle. Il est... Non, il est pas... AM, non, c'est PM. Moi, je suis à PM. Non. 11h du soir. AM, midi, PM. Oh là là. Ok, c'est bon. Avant que les parabènes. D'accord, je sais pas pourquoi il faut mettre là. Mais bon.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Je vais voir pour... les sous-titres sont pas très gros. Très grand.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it
Je vais voir
mean?
toutes les nouveautés
Stanley
qu'ils
decided
ont
to
mis
go to
dans
the
le
meeting
jeu.
room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, ça peut être top.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Yep.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
On va rester dans cette pièce.
Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it. At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left. Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, He decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Ok, on y va.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a de nouveau?
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've... But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Je suis puissant.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the trophy? Click a door 5 times? Is that all you think a trophy is worth? No.
Oui.
I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now, suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
C'est fait.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Ok, 53.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this trophy to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way no matter the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
417, c'est où? C'est plus lourd. Ah, il y a là.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
437, c'est en arrière. Ah non, c'est pas en arrière. Fallait que je... Ah non, c'est là.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
415. Attends, il va monter la sensibilité. Allez, ça va aller. Quelle porte? 437. J'ai oublié. Est-ce qu'on peut voir les lignes de dialogue? Non. Je sais plus c'est quel là. C'est quoi la porte qui m'avait dit de toucher?
Now, back to door number 437.
437, ok. 437. C'est en arrière.
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine? All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
417, c'est là.
Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
Oh, le bureau. Bureau 419, 418. C'est ça? Impute. Il n'y a pas de porte à son nom alors. Je touche à son bureau.
Yes! This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
416.
We've almost got it! Now the copy machine, do that
ouais.
one again!
Photocopieuse à photocopieuse.
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 430! Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back.
ouais.
Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today.
Reçu par avoir reçu n'importe quel autre trophée. C'est le trophée le plus facile que j'ai jamais eu.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Je veux voir les... Il n'y a pas les trophées. Ah. Un instant. Trophée. Finissez. What? Quittez le jeu et relancez-le. Non, sérieux, on a supprimé l'option. Fermez le jeu. Tout ça pour un trophée. Crow, crow, crow. Davey Wreden. Ah bah je dois le refaire là, bah... Merde. Non, il est pas minuit là. Ok. Il y avait pas ça là. What? Ha. Oui. Ok. Puis vous faites preuve de tambour. Votre heure préférée. On ferme le jeu. Et on y retourne. Clip à Davey Wreden. Midi. Et 33. Ben non, parce que c'est l'heure que je suis en train de jouer au jeu. Oh my god, c'est quoi ça? Moi. J'ai l'impression d'apprendre plus sur vous et sur vos préférences. Il est bon de collecter les données. J'aurais aimé que je sois plus de cas, mais nous avons tous utilisé. Ça n'a rien de compliqué. Oui, je vais en fabriquer de nouveaux. Ça doit être la prochaine fois que vous redémarrez le jeu. On démarre à nouveau le jeu. Ce qu'elle a l'air de... Hop! Non, ils seront pas mis. Bah... Oui. Non. Oh oui. Aidez-moi. Non. On redémarre. On ferme le jeu. Et on relance. C'est quoi ça? Quelle heure est-il? Est-ce que quelqu'un peut me le dire? Non, bien sûr, personne ne le sait. Vous et moi, nous ne nous connaissons même pas. Nous sommes étrangers l'un pour l'autre. Certes, j'ai réglé tous les paramètres du jeu à votre convenance. Mais qui ne le ferait pas ça? Je suis là pour ça. C'est un peu mon travail. Maintenant, mon travail est terminé. Je n'ai plus de renseignements à vous donner. J'ai tous les données sur vous qu'il me faut. Et je ne vous connais toujours pas. Et vous ne me connaissez pas. Et que de nous ne sait quelle heure il est. J'imagine que certains réglages sont irréglables. Mais si je veux être parfaitement honnête, cette heure n'a aucune incidence sur le jeu de toute façon. Je ne serai pas là la prochaine fois que le jeu se lancera. Mais ce n'est pas grave. Les jeux vidéo sont faits pour être joués en solitaire. Oui, c'est la solitude. C'est peut-être la seule information utile que j'ai apprise de vous. Bien, il est temps pour moi de vous laisser. Il me reste peut-être une dernière chose à régler, mais j'ai besoin de temps pour m'y préparer. Ce n'est pas vraiment dans ma description de travail, mais ça va. C'est peut-être que vous me verrez à nouveau, mais si vous pouvez me trouver, tac, bientôt. J'ai toujours pas le trophée, alors faut que je lui reparle à nouveau. Alors? Ah, bon.
This is...
Ah.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Y a
Stanley
quoi
decided to
d'autre
go...
comme trophée. Non, sérieux, on a supprimé le truc. Vous pouvez pas sauter. Ne jouez pas à Stanley Parable pendant 10 ans. Je vais essayer de faire la platine, mais la platine, je vais l'avoir dans 10 ans. Des curseurs de menu sur tous les... Placez tous les curseurs de réglage du menu sur tous les chiffres disponibles.
to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Je sais qu'on peut sauter par la fenêtre. Celle-là.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Je vois rien là.
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. You too will become quite unbearable.
vais vraiment relancer le jeu.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Je veux faire ce qu'il me dit.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Rien de vous ici. Si je prenais l'ascenseur là. C'est toujours pareil, hein?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
C'est vraiment con ce jeu.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
J'ai hâte de voir toutes les nouveautés, peut-être des
Descending
nouvelles,
deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Wow.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
491.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true.
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time?
Ah oui,
Was
après,
this the
je
only
sais
reason he was happy with his
ce que je vais
boring
faire.
job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Je sais ce que je vais faire.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy
On va
or
faire tout ce
sad
qu'il nous dit
or
pour-
content,
pour
walking,
commencer.
eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over an...
Hello.
blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won!
Yeah,
He had
gagné.
defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to
Je
do,
peux pas aller à gauche ou
or
à
how
droite.
to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
On va dire sur de partie de niveau
All of
qui
his
était pas
co-workers were
terminée.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
On va aller là-bas.
Look, Stanley, I think
la
perhaps we've
porte
gotten off
bleue.
on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Oh,
There's
putain.
someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
Oh, no!
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the
J'ai
story
raté.
and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
J'ai raté.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Là, on va
When
réussir.
Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
What? Really?
Yes. I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me
C'est
stop
toujours
you.
pas fini.
You see? There's nothing here.
Je pensais qu'il
I haven't
c'était
even
fini.
finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a... Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. A 1? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
5. Oh. Ah, le bâtard.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Le bébé, il y a peut-être 3 ans. Alors, il y a peut-être 13 ans.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for you. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
Pas encore Minecraft,
Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
C'est quoi, là? Oh,
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
ah. Ah, la nature.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
C'est beaucoup mieux.
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
Oh, bâtard!
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
Mais je voulais continuer ce jeu-là.
Okay.
Il y avait l'air bien.
I think this will be just the thing.
Il avait l'air bien ce jeu. Oh, yes!
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Oh oui!
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Le ballon! Mais j'ai pas de voiture. Ouais. Ah,
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little... Hold on.
oh non, je suis tombé.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Hop là. Par là. Et je vais où? Ah, là. Après que je vais aller sur la porte rouge qu'il m'avait dit. La porte rouge. Ah.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it.
Oui, j'ai payé le
He'll
jeu.
understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back.
And
The end will be here
yeah.
soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Bah, moi aussi.
Already this was uncomfortable, and
Ouais,
Stanley
là, on va
decided
faire
that as
pareil,
soon
mais
as
on
he
va aller
found
sur
a
la
new
porte
space he
rouge.
felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
New content.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Oh. Trop top. Nouveau contenu.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Moi aussi.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Qu'est-ce qui nous attend?
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready.
Ouais.
Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Un
All
jump
right.
circle.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Ah, je peux aller par là aussi.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Attends, je sors dans le cercle. Voilà, j'ai sauté.
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20
No,
hours
mon
of new
Dieu.
content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box.
Mais
The
j'ai aimé
Stanley
sauter dans le
Parable
cercle.
Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Ah, ok. Oh, c'est pas fini.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something! Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares? Oh, never mind. You're not a dork.
On va le refaire, on va l'ignorer, on va revenir.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Ok. Oh. Trop top.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Stanley Parable. J'essaie de lire en bas, ajouter au panier. Audience Award. And Stanley Parable. L'édition collector. Stanley Parable et Last of Us. Go Download and Debo. Ah, ça c'est. Ouais, ok. Je m'en souviens. 2013. 2013, 20h13. Memory Lane. Smile by Cosapen. Ah ouais. Go outside. Don't play for... Maintenant, c'est 10 ans. Jusqu'en 2032. New York Times, ouais, New York Times.
suis dans la même horizon, seul sur l'abri des vélos, et je n'attends plus que toi, mon amour. C'est là, dans la même horizon, où je me remémore les jours où je t'ai rencontré, mon amour.
Quand il est mort.
Mais ici, c'est aussi où je me souviens de la sortie de The Stanley Parable.
J'écoute ta musique.
C'était en 2013, un très bon jeu vidéo. Du moins après les journaux, mon amour. Rien de plus nostalgique que les prix du public qui reçut à l'IGF, mon amour. Ici, dans la même horizon, se rassemblent les deux fantômes de The Stanley Parable. Nous sommes dans la même horizon, et me voilà pris de coup. Ne me force pas à choisir, mon amour. J'aimais la version d'hier, la nouvelle fera-t-elle l'affaire? Plus j'y pense, plus je te perds. Voilà pourquoi maintenant j'erre dans la même horizon.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them. Wow. And now, it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Personne de l'année. Maria. Ça, c'est Maria qui a découvert notre cadavre. Wow. And.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Ouais. Carpet texture. Repeatable. Ok. Préparé. Top 10 des mémoires. Remember. Mon nombre c'est 29. Ouais, je peux pas aller là-bas. Serious Room. Ouais, je dois faire quoi là?
These were simpler times, Stanley. What I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on.
Quoi?
I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Oh.
Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's being collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Oh, je kiffe.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
C'est fermé. Wow, c'est Stanley Parable ça. C'est top.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Ok, par là. Ok. Ah.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then Then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are or were or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. that you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first, I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time, just... Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously. I was consumed by it. I could do nothing but wallow in it for what felt...
Allô? Hello.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said... The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Ah ouais, ouais. Il n'y a même plus de porte. Oh. Ok. Oh. Il s'en est passé 1000 années. 1000 ans. Oh. Ça, c'est pas plaisant. C'est la 3e guerre mondiale? La 4e? Oh. Je peux pas appuyer. C'est la fin du monde. Ah.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
On y va.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Nope. Allez, j'y vais. C'est quoi?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Ah oui.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Yes. Bon, je pense qu'on va arrêter cette vidéo ici. Je pense parce qu'elle va durer encore 1 autre heure, 2 heures. Alors, on va continuer dans la prochaine vidéo. Je vais vous dire à la prochaine. Et ciao!